Hello everyone, welcome to Mastermind. Today let us learn more probable MCQs in this part of the series. Very important questions these are. Please note down these questions. These questions, if at all they appear, they will appear as it is. That is why these questions are very important. So the first question says interest income from the deposits in infrastructure investment trust in which distributed to their investors is exempted from tax, but the dividend is taxable. InvITs are recognized as borrowers under the Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest Act 2002. So, which one of the following is correct in respect of the above statements? So, here the right statement is statement D because statement 1 is false, statement 2 is correct. Therefore, the right option statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct. So, you have to remember this very important. What are InvITs? InvITs means investments. So these are infrastructure investment trust. Infrastructure investment trust. So these are investments. What are these? These are collective investment. That is, many people, they contribute to a pool of fund. These are collective interests. Similar to a mutual fund. Again, keyword. It is similar to a mutual fund which enables direct investment of money. In mutual funds, what happens? All the investments that are collected by the broker is invested by the mutual fund person. It is invested into equities or stocks. But here, the money collected by the infrastructure investment trust owner is invested in infrastructure projects. It is invested in infrastructure projects to earn a small portion of the income as return. So whatever return they get, small portion of the income will be distributed to the investors as dividends. So now statement 1 says interest income from deposits in infrastructure investment trust is distributed to their investors gets exempted from tax. No, even dividend is not exempted from tax. Very important. You have to note it down. So even the dividends are taxable. What? Dividends are taxable. So it is not exempted from tax under general conditions. The dividends are not exempted from taxation under general conditions. Even interest also get taxed. The interest as well as dividend both get taxed. Interest income from inverts is not exempted from tax under general conditions. Only under very special conditions they get exempted, and even dividends that are distributed to investors are taxable. So both dividends as well as interest are taxable. And secondly, InvITs are recognized as borrowers. Yes, correct. They are recognized as borrowers under the Security and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest. That is SARFA-SC Act. This is famously known as SARFA-SC Act. SARFA-SC Act 2002. You should know about this. If you don't know about this, please follow Mastermind. We have covered this. Second statement says, in the post-pandemic recent past. So when did the pandemic come? It came in the year 2020. So it came in the year 2020. After post-pandemic means after pandemic was over. In the post-pandemic recent past, many central banks worldwide had carried out interest rate hikes. Central banks generally assume that they have the ability to counteract rising consumer prices via monetary policy means. So here option is option A. Statement 1 and 2 are correct. Correct. Post-pandemic, central banks, including the US Federal Reserve, European Central Bank, and Reserve Bank of India had raised interest rates to control inflation. To control inflation, they had raised the interest rates. Very important. Usually, what you people will think, central banks lowered the interest rates to boost the economy. No, it did not happen. They hiked the interest rates to control inflation, and central banks use monetary policy tools such as adjusting interest rates to control inflation. So the second statement is correct. Central banks generally assume that they have the ability to counteract rising consumer prices via monetary policy means. So rising rates make borrowing more expensive, reducing consumer spending and investment, which helps to control inflation. So when the interest rate increases, then the cost of borrowing loans will also increase. As a result, people will spend less. people will spend less, and even investment will be lower. So as the spending and investment is lower, less money flows in the economy, leading to lesser inflation. More money leads to more inflation. So generally, a slight inflation is very good for the economy, but too much inflation actually burns the economy. Third question says, consider the following statements. Carbon markets are likely to be one of the most widespread tools in the fight against climate change. Carbon markets transfer resources from the private sector to state. So here, if you look at this particular question, the right option is option B. Both statement 1 and 2 are correct, and statement 2 is not the correct explanation for statement 1. So both the statements are correct, but the statement 2 is not the correct explanation for statement 1. Carbon markets are considered effective tools for reducing greenhouse gases emissions by allowing companies to trade emission permits. Emission Emission permits will be allowed to trade in carbon markets. So this will incentivize lower emissions. So if you want to know more about carbon markets, we have dealt in detail about the carbon markets in one of the articles on Mastermind. If you are not following Mastermind, you are losing too much of information that you can get as a capsule in a single day. So please note down that what are carbon markets? Carbon markets are the markets where the emission permits or emission certificates are traded. So let us say there is a company A and there is another company B. So let us say in England, this particular company A had to emit only 1 ton of carbon dioxide, 1 ton of carbon dioxide, but it did not emit any carbon dioxide, zero carbon dioxide it has emitted. So it has one carbon credit, one carbon credit. Let us say, for example, it has got one carbon credit, but this company B in Spain has emitted 2 tons of carbon dioxide, but it was allowed to emit only 1 ton of carbon dioxide. So in this situation, company B can purchase the carbon credit of company A by paying money to it, and this purchasing selling happens in the market, what is known as carbon market. Therefore, if you look at this particular example, you can make out that carbon markets are likely to be one of the most widespread tools in the fight against climate change in the future, as it serves as an effective tool for reducing greenhouse gas emission by allowing companies to trade emission permits. Carbon markets do transfer resources to the state. Instead, they facilitate transactions between private entities or industries. Government may regulate these markets but are not the primary beneficiaries. So the thing is, of course, they can transfer, carbon markets transfer resources from the private sector to the state. They can. Okay, carbon markets sometimes they transfer, not every time. Majorly it happens between private entities, but it is not that there won't be any transfer of resources from private entity to state at all. So the carbon markets transfer, they do transfer resources to the state. However, they also facilitate transactions between private entities or industries as well. Governments may regulate these markets, but they are not the primary beneficiaries of the resource transfer. So therefore, you have to note it down that carbon markets can transfer resources from the private sector to the state. State in the sense it can be public entity. Any public entity. For example, let us take the example of ONGC or oil. So these are public entities. So there can be transfer of resources from a private entity to ONGC or oil. In such case, yes, there is transfer of resources. If there was only here, then it would have been statement would have got nullified or it would have become wrong. But now there is nothing as such. You have to understand these tiny details. You should know such tiny details in order to arrive at the right answer. Fourth question says, which one of the following activities of the Reserve Bank of India is considered to be part of sterilization? So here the right option is option A, conducting open market operations. So what is the meaning of open market operations? Sterilization is a process which is used by Reserve Bank of India to manage the effects of foreign exchange or forex interventions on domestic money supply. If there is too much money that is entering the Indian market or domestic market from the foreign markets, then in order to annul the effects of such money coming from the foreign markets, open market operations or sterilization operations are carried out by the RBI. Open market operations are the operations where the RBI buys, either buys or sells the government securities, and it is a key sterilization tool. So it comes under sterilization tool is open market operations. Therefore, conducting open market operations is one of the ways to achieve sterilization. This helps control liquidity, that is money supply in the economy. It helps maintain monetary stability, especially when there is large inflow of foreign capital, increase the money supply. When there is large inflow of foreign capital that increases the money supply in the domestic economy, then RBI takes up sterilization process, of which open market operations is one of the efficient tools under sterilization. Last question for the day says consider the following markets: government bond market, call money market, treasury bill market, and then stock market. How many of the above are included in capital markets? So here the options only two, because here the stock market and government bond market, these two come under long-term markets, or long-term instruments are traded here. Therefore, they come under capital markets. So what are capital markets? Capital markets are the markets where long-term instruments, that is instruments which the duration or expiry period of greater than 1 year, maturity period of more than 1 year is there. Therefore, government bond market and stock market, they come under capital markets, while call money market, and treasury bill market both have maturity period less than 1 year, and they come under money market. Therefore, government bond market and stock market are part of the capital markets where long-term instruments are traded. Call money market and treasury bill market are part of the money market, dealing with short-term borrowing and lending, typically for a period of less than 1 year, as I've already told. So with this, we have come to the end of part 5. Please keep referring to all the videos and also all the articles of Mastermind, because without Mastermind, your preparation for any competitive examination remains incomplete. Thank you.